Hey, good evening, and it's my first live of the year with a guest. It's so exciting to be here. I'm so happy. And how was Christmas? How did it go? Did you have a good time over the holidays? I'm sure everyone is back to work. Um, if there's anyone joining us in live, please say hello, say something, and then invite someone to join us. So today we're going to talk about something that is really interesting, and it's about modern moms and smart solutions. And you know, parenting in this 2025 is not the same way we were parented, not the same way people after us were parented, not the same way, everything evolves so fast. And if you've never been here, my name is Chioma Mama. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm a mom of four. I'm a working mom. I'm one person that believes that even as you explore your business, your career, or whatever you plan to do in life, once you are a mom, once you are a dad, you can actually do all those things and also raise amazing kids, parents effectively. And that's what I'm here to sell. It's not always easy. It might not be perfect, but we can do it. And that's why I'm here. Like I said, I'm a mom of four. I am a policy expert, I'm a lawyer. And I also love to coach women. And talking about coaching, I have something coming up very soon where I'll be coaching a few women in the Butterfly Project. That's a project that I have designed for working moms, especially and working moms to be. When we talk about all the things we do, we talk about family, we talk about career, we talk about networking, communicating, finding purpose, and focusing on your growth as an individual. So if you want to join me, you can talk to me about that later. But now let us go back to our topic for the day. I have a very amazing guest today, someone who has so much that she has to talk about concerning this topic today. She is Datari Ladejo. Data is a bundle of gifts, a bundle of so many exciting things, and she's here to talk about her own experience. She's a mom of two as well. She is a data strategist, and she has her own experiences raising young children in today's world, which is very IT driven, and saying how she has used IT and used those smart solutions to help her as a mom. So without further ado, I'm going to have Data come and join us on stage. Hey, hi Data.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. It's good to see you here.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining in.
You too. Thank you for
All
having
right.
me.
And we're going to just go straight away. I cannot see anyway, I think I can see who. There's someone in here, but whoever that person is, hi, welcome. Good to see you on here. And like I said, if you're here, if you're joining from wherever you're joining in from, be sure to leave a comment to say where you are joining in from, where in the world you are. If you are in Nigeria, if you are outside Nigeria, please go ahead and say hello and say, sorry, give me a minute. Distractions from the home front. When we're at home, we multitask. I've been preaching against
Oh,
multitasking, but
I
guess
always
what? I
have
still multitask.
conversation. Yeah, exactly.
Moms cannot help it. It's not easy. It's not easy. So if you're here, say hello. Say where you're coming in from, where you're viewing us from. If you're in Nigeria, outside the country, just say hello in the comments so we can say hello back. It's always good to know who is watching us on live. Okay, and this is Choma Mama on YouTube. Thank you for being here. And if for any reason after you watch this, if you watch this live and you want people to join in, go ahead and send them the link and let them join this amazing program. So Data, we all have our stories, please. But before I even go into any stories, let me just talk to you. Tell us, let's know who you are. I've said your data strategist, but there's so much more. You have a woman of many parts. Can you just give us yourself in a nutshell? Who is Datari
Sure.
Ladejo?
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, primarily, I am a mom. I think that is one of my proudest accomplishments, being a mom to two children. So I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, Tiara and TJ. In
Awesome.
my professional life, I work as a digital strategist and I'm the CEO of Fernhill Digital Consulting. So I manage a team
Okay.
of 20 people. And then I also work as a product marketer as well at the same time. I
Okay.
started my career as a lawyer, but I think I have different perspectives when it comes to motherhood because at a certain point in my legal career, I actually quit my job. I had a good job in a law firm,
Okay.
working, and then I just decided that when I got pregnant with my first child, my daughter, that I was going to quit. and focus on motherhood for a little bit, take a break. But it wasn't the kind of organization that you can just take a break. You're either in or out. So I decided to
You
quit.
had to leave.
And I had to, unfortunately. But then the pandemic happened, and it caused me to really reevaluate my life, my life's purpose. And that's what pushed me into my digital strategy career. And that's where my life trajectory is going right now. So that's basically me in a nutshell. But I like to, so in my day to day job, one of the things that I do, the key things that I do is I help companies in terms of their digital transformation. So helping them incorporate digital technologies into their business to make them operate more efficiently. However, I started somewhere along the line to incorporate these digital technologies or different digital technologies into my household management. And I started to view my house as a business and like a
I
company that
love
I
it.
need to manage in the same way.
Love
Now,
it.
funnily enough, the kind of advice or the stories that I'll be telling on this in this conversation, it's a balance, right? Because I know that a lot of young moms in my generation were tech savvy, were project management savvy, were this, but we have to also remember that when it comes to managing households, you're dealing with human beings. Your kids may not play ball, your nannies may not play ball, your spouse may not play ball. So there's a balance between incorporating these digital technologies and also incorporating a deep understanding of human beings and emotions. And I think as part of my role as a digital strategist, the marketing side of things, I really have to study people, the way they think, the way they react, their emotional responses to things. And that has helped me and helped me improve over time with my relationship with my spouse and with my nannies. So it's definitely something that I love to talk about and share.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. I love that. I kept on calling you a data strategist. And really, digital, anything digital deals with data a lot. And that's what we're doing is actually, collecting data over time to see, okay, how can we actually use
Mhm.
this to
Yeah.
run our home? And, why is this so important? I remember, let me just tell you this small, short story. I had this girl who came to help me in my home, and I said, okay, boil water. We had an electric, you know, a kettle. I just thought everybody knows how to use an electric kettle, surely. So, just boil some water and bring it up. And there was no light. And she went ahead to put this electric kettle, which was shaped like a traditional kettle, but had the plug and everything, on my gas cooker. Because she was like, oh, there's no
Oh,
light. Let me try using it on the gas cooker. Maybe that will work. And I was like, what? And
oh
and I was
no.
upset. And my husband said, you know what? What's her level of exposure? Does she have a gas cooker in her house? Where is she coming from? Had you taught
Yeah.
her, taken time to teach her how to use this gadget? Because a
Mm,
lot of we go, we buy expensive pots, expensive gadgets, and we don't take time to actually train people to say, okay, you know what? If in the office, everyone has a process where when you onboard your staff, you come in, you do induction, they teach you how things work here, this is how we do things here, and then you go through a whole process. You have a manual, but then we employ girls or young women or not so young women. We employ men, whoever, and we don't take time to train them. And then when
mm,
things go wrong, we get livid. So those are some of
yeah.
the things that I'm thinking that how can we use digitalization and bring it into our home so that we're actually running our home not like an office in the sense of like it's everything is so formal, but in the sense that we can use those tools which we use in the office space to actually enhance the way our homes run. So give us a few examples of things you've done that have really helped you.
Yeah. Okay. So recently I shared a video on my Instagram page, right, about win not loss analysis. And it's a marketing and sales principle. So I started to use that with my nannies, right? So nannies that had left, I sat back and reflected on some of the feedback that I'd gotten over time and thought, okay, similar to you, what is the level of experience of somebody coming into my house and how can I teach them or train them in a way that will resonate with them? Let me look at why these people are complaining or why they're not getting certain things. So for example, I'll give you an interesting
Hmm.
story. So what I started to do, I used to get so frustrated when it comes to like kids parties or church because my nannies, if I'm not there physically picking out their clothes, my nannies can dress my kids
Hmm.
in any type of nonsense.
They
And I
look
used
like
to get
clowns.
so they just look crazy. They either look too overdressed, so you put my daughter in a ball gown to go to a kid's party where she's going to be jumping and playing around, or they're just inappropriately dressed for the occasion. So one thing that I try to do is I try to set them up and train them so I don't micromanage them, because I realize that when you're also breathing down people's necks, it can become quite frustrating. So with
True.
picking out clothes, what I started to do, it can be so frustrating. Even you self get frustrated with the constant micromanaging. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought about how I motivate my team. What do I do with my team to get them excited about stuff? We gamify it. So what I started to do with my nannies is train
Hmm.
them of picking out clothes, but we do it like a game. We start to gamify things, which is a very big part of digital technology. A lot of things that people are incorporating now into their workspaces for employees includes incentives. Like, it makes it fun, it makes it engaging. So what I started to do with my nannies is, from time to time, we do almost like America's Next Top Model, right? We'll sit down in the room, my kids' wardrobe is there, and we'll have an example scenario. We'll just be playing, we're laughing and gisting, and then we'll now say, okay, we're doing our next top model. We're practicing how to match kids' clothes. So I'll say, okay, we're going for a party, and I'm not so close to the parents. Everybody pick your outfit. Then, because I have multiple nannies, it almost becomes like not a competition, but a game. So everybody will pick their outfit. Then we'll now assess each other's outfits and we'll mark it out of 10. So we'll now say, this one is not fine. No. Then, we'll now pick maybe a different pair of shoes. So I noticed that by doing it that way, I got my nannies to a standard whereby I can travel now and people working with me can dress my children. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not actually saying, okay, send me a picture of what they're wearing here. They understand the kind of way that I like them to dress. And I give them specific situations like, okay, we're going to church. We're going to a friend's house that's not close to us. We're going to somewhere that this auntie that we know very well. So in all different scenarios, they're
Right.
practicing and they're doing it in a fun way. So it's a way of teaching them and training them without being too granular about it. Because I also find that in my generation as well, a lot of women, because we're so tech savvy and because we're businesswomen and we're boss babes, we tend to translate that over to our nannies. And a lot of them, their level of education is just not set up to understand that kind of thing. It feels annoying. It feels like, this is one Oyibo auntie, they're not catching it. So I found that gamifying stuff is one of my ways of teaching them things. I might have so many different examples, but that's the one that I would say is quite fun that we do. I mean, from time to time, maybe like once every couple of months, our little next top model fashion show selecting kind of thing. And it's really works for me.
I hope you guys can hear me. I'm losing data. Is that data losing me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Let me just check my connection. Can you hear me?
That they look forward to, something that they would actually be like, okay, I actually want to get my,
Hi, thank you. I think we're having a couple of technical issues, but I can see your comments in the chat. Thank you for letting us know that you can hear us and you can rock with us. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat while Trauma is just logging back in. I can also go on and give some more examples while we. Can you hear me now? Deborah,
yes,
can you
sorry, you
hear
lost
me?
me for a second.
Can you
Thank
hear
God,
us?
So yeah, so you were talking about gamifying, which I think is such a fantastic concept. Just using different elements to try and make it fun and interesting. And it reminds me of what we used to do in those days. What people used to do in those days, when you see someone doing a chore, and they're actually singing songs or doing something to make it interesting. And that's what they do. They actually do. It's a chore. You're trying to teach them how to, dress the kids appropriately, but you're making it fun. So I totally love it. So what else? Continue, carry on. What else are what other example were you giving?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I would say, you were giving another example of stuff you do with your help that helps, make those tasks easy, that, help using technology or whatever, using modern solutions to help. So what else? What other thing do you do that really helps?
Okay. So one of the things that we have in our household is we have a staff WhatsApp group, and we use that to, so a lot of people these days are really big on community building and using technology to build communities. So within my house, we have a community on our WhatsApp group. And what we do, first of all, when a new staff member joins the household, I give it a week or two just to observe them, make sure that we're not having a rotating door on the group of people that we're not sure of. But they have kind of passed that induction period, they're welcome to the WhatsApp group, and we use that WhatsApp group to share information. Sometimes we'll just share memes about stuff. Like, for example, we can say, "Oh, my chef can say, oh, this has finished, blah blah blah." Other people will share a meme on people's birthdays. We discuss it on the WhatsApp group. We'll wish them happy birthday and stuff like that. And I also use that as my main channel of communication with everyone. Now, interestingly, the WhatsApp group is with me and my staff. My husband is not on that WhatsApp group, because one thing that I also found, so I'm a big proponent of or I'm an advocate of sharing responsibilities, right? But I realized that some things that work for women actually leave men feeling a little bit overwhelmed.
Mm.
So I decided not to have my husband on that WhatsApp group, but it doesn't mean that I'm not involving him in our day-to-day activities. It's just little things like, for example, if I get a birthday party invitation, I'm sharing it on that WhatsApp group. I'm also connecting my staff to the vendors. So for example, we have one or two places that we get birthday presents from. They already know the places, they know the budgets, they can just go. So I'm actually getting them used to technology. So I'm not the kind of person that will have a nanny or a driver in my house with the phones that are like, I don't know, 10K that doesn't have internet or whatever. I also make sure that I have Wi-Fi in my house and they're able to, use the Wi-Fi. I recommend YouTube videos to them to watch about childcare, and also educational videos that they can watch with the children during their screen time as well. So, for example, when we're trying to teach our children about certain scriptures or things like that, I'll share a YouTube video which they can watch, which will help them teach them, or they can watch with the children if it's their time for screen time. In terms of myself and how I organize myself, because I do a lot of stuff, and if I don't plan, I get super overwhelmed. I'm one of those people that can just lie in bed and just feel like the world is just spinning too fast. There's too much stuff going on. So I tend to use like project management apps, for example, Notion or Asana, to actually write out the tasks that we need to do in the week. This isn't something that I share with my staff. It's simply for me to keep myself organized, because, like I said, I feel like there's a balance between how you incorporate your staff into this training and what you do on your own. I personally feel sharing an Asana board with my nanny may be overwhelming for her, and she may just be like, this madam's wahala is too much. However, for me, it helps keep me, like, what's this one? Am I getting paid enough
What's this
for me to do
again?
this?
Mhm.
Do you understand? So I use
Mhm.
that to keep myself organized. But what I share with them is we have, like, for example, Canva templates that are colorful. And I know that you also have a lot of useful templates as well. But we use
Mhm.
templates for like our menus. So on a weekly basis, I'll update the menu in our WhatsApp group. We pin it. They know what the kids are eating that week. That's the most important thing. The house one is in the house, but on the WhatsApp group, they can see it, and they also have it on the board in the house.
Fantastic.
For example, yeah, so all the key information is within that WhatsApp group. And then I use project management for myself, not for them. I also really, really get my staff involved in the raising of my children. So I make them understand that we are co parenting these children, essentially. Like, these are your children as well. We're bringing up these children together. So we have meetings from time to time to just talk about the children. What are our goals for the children? What should they be learning right now? What do we think is, so my nannies will actually suggest stuff to me. Like they may say, let's work on Tiara. Sometimes her brother will do something to her that's not that serious and she'll cry. How can let's face
I
this
had to
crying?
stop crying.
Yeah. And we all
I love
discuss it
it.
together. Yeah, so it feels like collaborative effort, which is really what people are doing now in the digital ecosystem. Is all about connectivity and collaboration. So we make sure that we're collaborating as a team to bring up these children. I also really, I mean, this is the last things I know I've gone on a bit, but I also really invest in the confidence of my nannies and the way that they look and the way that they feel about themselves. Because I feel like if I'm raising confident children, I have to also raise confident carers that don't look like they just came from the village and they're like less than in my house. So, for example, for in our household, we have uniforms that the nannies wear within the household. So they have a uniform literally for each day. That may be extreme for some people. You don't have to have a uniform for each day, but I don't like bio or smells or anything like that. So I am that extra just so that they don't have to worry about washing anything during the week. So these uniforms are actually scrub
Hmm.
uniforms that nurses wear and
I
Crocs. So
like.
they
Hmm.
yeah, they have really nice uniform.
Mm.
And I tell them all the time that look, if you are doing this job in America or if you're doing this job in England, you are doing a highly respected job. You're like a nurse in this house, you're like a child nurse or a child carer. So you need to look at yourself in that way. So by having them dress well, and then I often, when I travel, I try and make sure that I'm buying them things. For example, at one point I went into my nanny where my nannies were sleeping and everybody was wearing wrappers, and I just thought, no, this isn't how I want them to be looking around my children, because I
Yeah, you
don't want
want
my
them to have
children to be
nightwear. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, I want them to first of all be dressed appropriate, and also I also don't want my children to be looking at them like, as they get older and start to understand these things, like people that are less than them. So I invested in making sure I bought proper pajama sets for all of them. So really, when you see my nannies out, people always tell me that, oh, they're looking so nice. They look like almost like their aunties or their sisters, not like, people dragging my children and holding my children that look like they're hired slaves or something like that. I don't think that everybody should do what works for them according to their budget, but I think any way that you can help build confidence, is it buying toiletries? Is it, letting them have their home clothes have a rest? I think one of the main purposes of having a uniform is so that your home clothes get to rest, so that you use those home clothes for outings and, things like that. So I think anything you can do to build their confidence, find out about their families, find out about what motivates them, find out about how they're feeling as a person. If you notice that they're unhappy, I always try and have conversations with them, make sure that they feel like a part of the family. And in doing so, I found that I've never had to worry about my children being maltreated, because they are treated well, so therefore they're treating my children well.
Fantastic. I think that's so important to humanize the people that work in your home, because I keep on saying it. Domestic staff are not just, and so you might think, well, if this was my, maybe the person cleaning my office, I wouldn't be act this way or whatever. But it's different. This person is in your home, and they're part of your parenting village. They're part of your parenting, they're part of your support system, and they are helping you raise your children, whether you like it or not. That's why you hired them. So it does make sense, or it does not make sense to treat them like they're hired slaves, to not to give them a sense of identity. So humanizing them, because they are human, of course they are, their job, and making them have dignity in labor. Like, okay, you've chosen to do this job and you're doing it, make them feel good about it. I remember I had this lady that worked with me for like 2 weeks in the UK, a Nigerian lady. She was meant to be a caregiver, and she felt the job was demeaning. So she'll say things, I'm just managing this job, I'm managing it, just, that's it. Back in Nigeria, I'm this. But I'm like, you're not even proud about what you do. So how can you do it effectively? And she was so cranky. She was so always full of, and I could just never, I would talk, I would say something to her, no matter how nice I was, she just didn't feel good about what she was doing, and I could not
Mm,
help her, unfortunately, so she had to leave. But if you have someone that you can actually get to and say, okay, you've chosen this vocation, this is what you're doing, and make them feel good about it. And those things you've mentioned are things that can help them, making sure they dress properly, caring about, oh, do you use do you need to have deodorant, make your whatever it is, to make them feel good about the job they do, talking to them, gisting with them, playing with them. Not every time everything is so serious and formal around the house, because they are with your children. And I love, love, love the idea of a WhatsApp group. So, like you said, I have some resources. I have my, get ready for school pack, where it's free for a few days. So if you don't have it, better download it before I put the price back on. So it's something. It has all those templates. It has the menu. It has a chore chart. It has a daily routine for the children, for the health, for everybody. But just the idea of that, okay, most of of the people around your home, they do have smartphones, they're so, and you have Wi-Fi. I remember the first day I had someone who asked my daughter, oh, what's the Wi-Fi, what's the password. And I was like, password. And I was like, okay, it makes sense, really. Why we should spend money on data when she lives here and we have Wi-Fi? Why can't, it's not going to cost me anything, why can't she have the Wi-Fi? And since they have access to it anyway, you might as well make it available for everybody's proper use, and to everybody's advantage. Okay, we have this WhatsApp group, let's use it for this, let's put the chat on here. If we need to change the rooster, let's have it here, let's update it, let's say happy birthday. That makes so much sense. I had never thought about it, interestingly enough, but it makes so much sense. And I remember there was this girl I had who used to help me in the house and cook for me. There's some things that she did. I would say, oh, do you know how to make this? And she'll say, oh, I have no idea, but show me a video. And that was her, her initiative. She was like, oh, Ma, just show it to me on YouTube or somewhere, and I'll do it.
mm,
And it worked. I would just find the video of of the recipe that made the most sense and send to her, and that was it. So let's use
yeah.
technology to help us. Instead of saying, okay, I tried to explain to her, she didn't quite get it, or she doesn't read well, or whatever. You've hired that person there in your home. Let's see how we can use the tools we have to make it easy for them. So I really love that WhatsApp group solution. I like the idea of, because sometimes you're sending, even your driver on an errand, and you're saying, okay, are you sure you have the right thing? And they say, I'm not sure. They can take a picture and send to you if they do have
Yeah.
the right type of phone. And you're like, and you will save yourself the stress of them buying the wrong item and coming home and you're angry, and they're and just upsetting yourself for nothing, because they could easily have just taken a picture and said, and you say, oh no, that's not it, it's not this one, it's the other one, or whatever it is. So I love that solution totally. I love the idea of making them feel have dignity in labor, making them feel like they're part of the household, because that's what they truly are. If you're choosing to get someone to live in your home, it's a choice. It's not compulsory. There are people who are able to run their homes effectively without any help. God bless them. But for those of you that have chosen, or those of us who have chosen to, okay, we need that, or that we choose to have help to help us because we have other things we've done. This is what we decide to delegate or outsource. Let's make it work for us in the best possible way, so we're not running into trouble. So I like the idea of those putting all those charts and routines on a WhatsApp. And then there was someone else I spoke to, I think it was Tara, and she was saying how she even has a step, like a flow chart. So you know how if you work in Burger King, they have how to make the burger, everything step by step. And she actually
Yeah.
has those kind of charts where she's showing you step by step. This is how we do it. Process one,
Yeah.
process two. So you're not saying I don't know how to do it. And I love that a lot as
Absolutely.
well. Have
Absolutely.
you ever
So
used
one of
anything like that?
So, not a flow chart, but one of the things that I've put together is like a handbook for my nannies, and it's
Okay.
personalized to my children. So, it first of all talks about, like, some of your responsibilities and things as a nanny. And then it has an about me section for my daughter and an about me section for my son. I need to update it because this was when my daughter was 3 and my son was not 2 yet. So, as they progress
Yeah.
and as they hit certain milestones, like breaking down like what they need to do aside from their schedule, because they have a daily routine, but an actual handbook that like breaks down to them, okay, these are the things we're trying to achieve for this child at this age. We want TJ by the end of the year to be, I don't know, speaking or saying this, or to know his ABCs, or to know 1 to 20, or stuff like that, actually breaking it down. And then for me, with processes that I want people to understand, I typically have them follow me. And like I mentioned earlier, the gamifying thing for really, really works well for me. So anything that we want to do, for example, I noticed that I have 3 nannies in my house, 2 for my kids and 1 for like just everybody generally, because we have quite a large house. So I realized that there's no point me paying anybody to take my pictures or to do my content inside that house. All of us are going to learn how to be
How
content
to use phones
creators.
and do the content creation. I love it.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. So that's another process that I gamified as well, teaching them how to use a phone, how to use a camera. And now they do it with themselves. My nannies can go anywhere. In fact, my mom uses them all the time when she's around. She's like, okay, come and take my picture here, there. So that's another skill that I inbuilt in them, how to take their pictures, how to take my pictures, and taught them that process through us, like, doing it in a fun way as well. I think in terms of data collection as well, so it's really important for you to understand how your household works if you don't want to be frustrated by your nannies, and for your nannies to be frustrated themselves, right? So, for example, knowing like the kind of things that go that you use regularly, knowing the things that finish quickly, having these things itemized out to them. And what I do as well, so I have an EA in my business who disperses petty cash. But what a lot of people have started doing, which I also used to do, is they have like a utility card where you give like maybe like 50K or something. They can't withdraw it out by themselves because it's connected to your account, but it gives them that empowerment to, like, these things that run out quickly, bread, milk, diapers, they can just quickly go and get it themselves. So I think also as well, empowering people to take those kind of independent decisions really, really helps. It helps with their growth. I feel like anybody that's in your house should leave a better person by the time they leave, whether it's teaching them. Like I remember when one of my first nannies, I walked into the kitchen one day and her and my driver were sitting eating their food from ice cream tubs or something like that, some funny, funny package. And I was like, now. I was like, why?
There's no place in
I
the
was
house.
like, why are you guys eating this? You see us using plates and stuff like that. You may want to use it. Sorry?
No, I didn't say anything.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes. Go
Okay,
ahead.
sorry. I think it froze for a second. But yeah, but I saw them, using just eating anyhow out of like one kind of plastic. I was like, no, no. I was like, you guys, you see how your madam likes to do her own thing. Like, even so, I realized that I needed to also encourage them to value yourself. No, don't eat out of a plastic person, because beyond my house, you don't know where you're going to end up. And when you're eating out of a plastic container, people are going to regard you as somebody that eats out of a plastic container. And I'm not talking about takeaway packs or something like that, something that you just shouldn't have been eating out of. I can't remember what it was. So little things like that, I'm also very mindful of buying them plates, crockery, making sure that they're doing things in the proper way. When we go out to lunch, so I have had a bad experience with my, I guess, modern mommying kind of flex. So at one point, I used to take my nannies out. When we go for lunch, we all go together. And at first, we'll just let them pick anything they want from the menu. Me and my husband, we just say, okay, we're all out for lunch. They'll hold their menu, they pick. So we went to a Lebanese restaurant with my nannies. And one of my nannies, first of all, picked something that even me, I was like, are you sure you want this thing? I can't remember what it was, but it just was so exotic and so Lebanese. It was more expensive than anything that anybody else had ordered. I think she just wanted to just finish us that day. So, she picked from this menu this unusual thing. As soon as it came, we were all looking at it. And I was in my mind, I was saying this girl had better eat everything on that plate, because who sent you there? They have chicken, they have things that are familiar to you, rice. You always go and pick the Lebanese one that you don't know. So it arrived, and as soon as it came, so I wasn't eating much that day. So I ate a little bit of my food and I said, oh, can they come and pack it? So I noticed that as I said, can they pack my food? She also said, oh yes, please, can they pack my food as well? So I knew that when we got home, that food was going right in the bin. And
Into the
it
bin.
was the most expensive. Yeah. So, after that experience, so I asked her that, why do you want to pack your food? You said you wanted this thing. She said, no, she's not hungry. She'll eat it later. So I noted that. And after that, we started to balance a little bit more of like being liberal and also not spoiling people, right? Or not giving people the liberty to just do as they like. So now we take our nannies out with us for lunch. We all go out for brunch after church on Sunday, but we'll typically pick foods like for them, and the kids will order for them instead of just leaving them to pick everything on the menu. And typically we pick things that we know is familiar to them and they'll like.
And
I
they'll
think it's
eat.
also important to have experiences with your nannies as well. Let them experience some of the things that your children are experiencing, so that they don't have that resentment towards your
Mm.
children. So if you're going out for lunch, your children are eating pizza. Some nannies may never even want to try pizza, but give them the opportunity to try this thing that your children are
To try
eating,
it.
so that they
Yeah,
can also
absolutely.
let them try it. Let them have
Mm.
fries. Let them have things like that. Not every time jollof rice and chicken and fried rice and stew. Let them try some of these things that your kids are having. I feel that there's a certain like human psychology element to it. Some people, some of us, we're so privileged and we're working so hard as mothers to provide these lifestyles to our children. Let's make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the people that are working with us are not undoing that hard work because they're resentful or jealous. I mean, they know they're there for a job, right? So I'm not saying that you must give your nanny the exact same treatment as you give your children, but give them experiences, give them things that are similar, take them out, let them experience certain things. So when they're trying to get your child to eat or to do things, they've also
Mm.
tasted pizza before. So they've also
Exactly, exactly.
they've
I
gone
think
to watch
I think
before, things
I've
like
seen
that.
scenarios, where you see a family, they go out to eat, and you see them, husband, wife, children, and they're eating, and you see the house help. Maybe she's even in the car or somewhere else, and she's not eating. She's watching them
Yeah,
eat. And I keep on
yeah.
thinking, this is the same person that's going to go back home and you're going to leave your children with them. You have just,
Mm,
you didn't offer.
yeah.
I've never been able to understand, what that. I remember there was a girl I had, and she's very picky. So I was like, "Oh, do you want to eat that?" She said, "No, no, no." She look at it and be. So there was a day we went out, and I was like, what was it? I was like, she won't eat it. My auntie said, you know what? Offer her. She might let her. There's always a first time. I was like, this one that is so picky. But that particular thing, she actually was like, okay, I actually want to try it. I was like, okay, good. But it wasn't the most expensive thing on the menu. Trust me. That one I would have said, okay, madam, no thank you. You're not ordering that.
Just
So it
relax.
is important to give them those opportunities, but also teach them, different things. For me, I think, like you said, you come into my house, you should live better. The girl that looked after my youngest, she came to visit me yesterday, and I was really happy. Her husband is doing quite well. She's married. She carries herself really well. I'm just so proud of the woman that she is. I'm just like, this is fantastic, and that is what I always tell people. Anyone that comes that passes through you should live better. That's what I learned from my mom. People would go through our house, they would come in a particular way, and they would leave. For I remember there was a girl, one of the girls that lived with us. Somebody in her church, saw her. I was like, I like your daughter. And she was like, oh, which one? That all in school. So, well, that one that always follows you to church every Sunday. I was like, oh, well, she's my daughter, but she's actually not my daughter. She's from, she's she helps in the house and all that. I said, okay, I like her. I would like, with your permission, I would like to date her. And they got married, and she lives abroad with her husband now. And that was a girl that came, very humble beginnings, came as as a help to our house. So, and of course, you would feel a lot of pride just having, knowing that you've been able to impact someone's life as they've impacted yours. Because remember, when you have someone live with you, they are there to actually do something for you. And I love
Yeah,
what you said about meetings. That is something I have never thought about. So of course, you discuss your children with, oh, what happened today? They gist you, you gist them. But I like that idea of actually sitting down to say, "Hey, you know what, let's actually have a meeting." One
yeah,
thing I do, which for instance, family prayers, everybody joins in. I don't care. Everybody, this is the time we're all going to pray. Everyone come upstairs and let's pray together. But I like the idea of meetings. Tell us, what is your schedule for those kind of meetings? Well, that sounds really interesting.
And it's funny, the kind of things that come out of those meetings, not everything is like goal oriented or formal. I remember one time I had a meeting with my nannies and they were telling me that, "Ah, madam, that, for my son, he was in a nanny and me class at the time. So they were saying that, one of my nannies who was the nanny that follows him to that class, she was saying that, madam, that there's one type of trouser that when I travel, she wants me to buy these trousers for TJ because all of the boys are now wearing this kind of cargo pant trouser, right, with the pockets and everything." And I was thinking, for a 1 year old, but she has her eyes to the street. She knows what's happening. She's inside the class with them, and it was something so random, like telling me, like, oh, but she obviously has an interest in keeping him up, making sure that he looks good. I guess wearing the current fashion, which is nothing to do with his milestones or his goals, but because we have those regular touch points where we're all looking at the growth of these children, the development of these children together, all kinds of things can come up, or, they can advise me. I can receive that advice. I can receive feedback to a certain extent. Like, you're not going to tell me how to parent my children, but something like that feedback, I said, okay, fine, no problem. When I travel, and they're the ones that send me pictures. So I get them involved when I'm traveling. I say, okay, what do you think we need for the kids? They'll put together their list and everything. And at the same time, I'll tell them, what's one thing that you would really like right now? It may be, sometimes they'll tell me, oh, a pair of slippers. Sometimes they'll tell me, oh, my nanny said one time she wanted a watch. The watch I bought was like $15. It wasn't skin. $15 is something I can spend on a burger and fries, right? But for
Mm-hmm.
her, that was what she really wanted at the time. And coming back to her gifts, it's almost like telling Santa what you want for Christmas, right? That meant a lot to her. So I find that, like, really, really investing in people. And I think one other thing that we don't talk about so much when it comes to managing our households as working women is the way that we feel about our own selves. So I wasn't always
Hmm.
this, savvy mommy. I've been through stages, especially in my postpartum stages, where like my kids were pretty young, where I wasn't feeling so good about myself as a person. I was feeling overweight. My body was different. I wasn't necessarily, maybe I was on maternity leave or just coming out, wasn't feeling so great about myself as an individual, maybe wasn't investing in self care. And I found that that spilled out into my relationship with my staff a lot. I was the shouting mommy, I was the one just getting agitated about stuff. And I think it's really important. So when we talk about data and win loss analysis and things like that, and evaluating our own performance as the CEOs of our household, let's not tell our husbands this one though, because they would like that. As the co-CEOs of our household, co-founders, it's important to evaluate your own self as much as you're evaluating yourself. Is this one sharp? Is this one this? If you're constantly shouting at somebody, trust me, it's going to take them twice as long to get that thing that you're trying to teach them.
Absolutely.
Honestly, and it may
Absolutely.
just be not that you are being strict, it may actually be that you need to stop and pause and think, where do I need to pour into myself? Do I need to have an hour once a week or a certain
To
period once a
refresh.
week that I tell my nannies, this is no kids zone? No. There's sometimes I tell my nannies unapologetically, I say, oh, I don't feel like seeing children though for the next 2 hours. I need to decompress. I'm watching please. No, this is children free zone. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. Do you need to go and treat yourself to a spa day when you notice yourself just kind of like pouring all of the emotions? Even some of us as women, our marital stress, can actually pour out into other areas of our lives. And it's affecting the way that we're
Absolutely.
treating these people, but we're trying to invest in having people. I mean, not everybody's going to stay forever. There's some people that just don't want to stay, but we're trying to build a system, a support system around us. So how can we best do that? It's for making sure that we are also okay. And I know I hold my hands up. I was really the shouting person at one point, to the point where one of my nannies, when she left, she actually she spoke to my mom. She was very close to my mom, and she told me that that period I was just like a nightmare. I was shouting all the time. I was irritated, and she just felt like I didn't like her anymore. And I loved her so much. Honestly, if she didn't leave in a bad way, I mean, we still have a relationship now. And I was able to look at myself and say, okay, do you know what? I was irritated. I was postpartum. I was probably actually that nightmare that she said I was. And I was probably pouring a lot of my frustration within myself into
onto
her.
her.
So I try and make sure now that I prioritize my self-care, making sure that I'm okay. And sometimes when I want to react to a situation, because nannies can be so frustrating, as you know, in fact, all staff, chefs, nannies, drivers, they can be really frustrating. So sometimes I have to think about how I communicate in certain situations. Like, for example, my pet peeve is lying. I hate dishonesty so much. I'd rather you tell me, let me understand exactly what the situation is. But I realized that just freaking out, when you feel that somebody is lying is not the best way to necessarily get the truth out of them. I still do. I'll do like an FBI investigation. In fact, I even did one last week with my nannies because I had two versions of a story and I took them through. But me of 2 years ago would have shouted. I would have just been like, because it was a situation where my nannies were meant to be looking after my children in my auntie's house. They climbed all the way to the top floor on their own, and they're young children. And it's a pain point for me because recently we heard a story about a child that died from falling down the stairs. And then my own brother had an accident at a young age falling down. So stairs for me is like, it's a pain point. It triggered me. But I had to look back at the situation, calmly address it. And by calmly addressing the situation, I asked them questions. Okay, so where were you? You said this one said that they went to go and collect their slippers. This one said they told the other one. We were able to get to the bottom of the situation. I was
Of
able to
what
get the
happened.
truth. Whereas if I had just freaked out, everybody would have said, it's not me, I don't know my, and we would have just gotten nowhere. And I was able to address that situation and take action about it because lying and danger, that's a no for me.
Saying no,
So that's
yes.
one of the things I definitely learned about myself. Like, you need to evaluate your own self and how you are feeling because it spills out into your whole life.
I think that's so key because a lot of times when we're, addressing the issues we have with our domestic help, we are always pointing. And we forget that when we're pointing a finger, at times we might have to look at our, the other finger and say, okay, is there a role I have to play? Is there something I could be doing better? And I remember there was this particular employee I had. And honestly, even it was my son that told me that, mommy, sometimes you come across as me, you're talking to him. And I was like, really? She was like, yes. And it was out of impatience. I was quite
Mm.
impatient. So he would do something and I would scream. And he was like, mommy, as in you're actually being me. It was not only him, a few of my other kids were like, mommy, now wow, this guy is scared of you. That's in really you need to calm down. And I started thinking, I was like, wow, Chuma, you really need to be more patient with this guy. You decided to hire him. Yes, he doesn't know road, but that was my issue with him, was that he didn't know his way around Abuja. So it was quite frustrating. I would look up and next thing we're on Kubwa Road. I'm like, how did we get here? Why didn't you say anything? Oh my God. And I would
Yeah.
like scream. And somebody like imagine screaming at someone that is driving. He could have an
Mm.
accident because he's just calling for himself. Madam is screaming at me. Ah. You
Yeah.
miss another turn, while you're shouting. And it was
Exactly.
dangerous. It wasn't. And I had to just say, you know what, Trauma, calm down. This guy is willing to learn. He's showing that he wants to learn. Why don't you? And that's how I was able to work with that guy for like 2 years because I had to listen. Thank God I listened to my children. I was like, you know what, Choma, you're able to do it. As in, calm down. I used to be extremely shouty. They say I still shout, even though I know I've changed a whole lot. But you have to actually calm down, assess yourself, and say, you know what. Is this going to change anything? Because it doesn't. It really doesn't. All it does is get you angry. It startles everybody and just makes the place a bit toxic. Because I was reading a book the other day. I think it was that what's his name, Robbins, that the big guy, that like
Well,
I think it's
Robin
like the father of focus. Yes,
or
that
Tony
guy. And
Robbins.
Tony Robbins, that's it. Yeah, Tony Robbins. So I was like, he was saying that your response, you can't control people's actions, but you can control your response. I mean, that we think we cannot control how we respond, but you
Mm,
can. So I remember having, someone who lived with me for,
mm,
and she was a thief. That was her only. And like you, I hate. Do not lie to me. I don't like lie. I don't like. Once I don't like theft is like a no. And she was doing all those things, and I
mm.
found out. And trauma of years back would have been I just said, oh, you stole, okay, CCTV, no need to lie. And she was like,
Mhm.
she was expecting me to start, doing drama and shout. And I was like, no, it's okay. I'm disappointed in you, but that's it. Bye. And I didn't. So I did what I was going to ask her to leave anyway, but I did it without the drama. I did it without the shouting. I did it without the over and getting
Yeah.
over emotional and getting. Oh, I'm so disappointed. Oh, you
Yeah.
did this to me. It's okay. She did it.
Yeah.
Learn from the situation. But less disappointed in her. Yes, I
Yeah.
was, but I wasn't going to get overly emotional about it because you need to make sure that you are not. That you are okay as well. The way you respond to
Yeah.
them, the way you respond to people, the way you talk to people, your attitude towards people, and then your own attitude towards yourself. How are you feeling about yourself? Like you said, that is so important because
Yeah.
we project a lot. You see people. I've had like in the workplace you deal with different people, and I always try to see this person what they're doing to me now. It might be because they're going through something at home or they're having a bad day. It might not be about you. So we always need to be conscious of ourselves as well. That, look, whatever you're going through, let it not don't project it on the people around you. They did not they didn't cause the issue. And even if they did, just try and
Yeah.
work try and work on yourself. And, be okay.
Yeah.
If you need to take time off, take time off. Do whatever you need to do so you're okay for yourself and for your family, so you
Yeah.
can be your best version of yourself every day. I think that I'm so happy you brought that up. That is so so so
Yeah.
important that you make sure that you are okay, that you actually evaluate yourself as well. Say, how am I doing? Am I doing better with my anger management? Am I being more patient? So this person I hired who actually has never been to a city in her life, and I'm expecting her to be, not to know. Have I, am I being reasonable with my expectations of this person? Am I
Ab-
overreacting, or so these are things we need to really do as ask ourselves as we're being these modern moms that want to have our houses so running like clockwork. We need to also look at
Yeah.
ourselves and make sure that we are doing the right things.
Yeah.
I
And
just
there's
came to see
something that
you.
you hi.
Mm.
There's something that you touched upon that reminds me of a bit of a horror story that I experienced, and it's about CCTV cameras. So when you mentioned that, I was like, yes, let's say this definitely. CCTV is so important. I think before you buy the bag, before you buy the shoes, before you buy anything, buy CCTV in your house, because I've had an experience where I didn't have CCTV and maybe I would hear some things passing here and there. I tend
Mm.
not to glue myself to it. I don't look at the cameras in my house that much unless I need to check something back. However, at one point I had to travel long term for a medical issue. And there was one time I was just eating my lunch. I was in America, were at home in Lagos. I just happened to have lunch and something just told me, in fact, let me not say something. The Holy Spirit told me to open my cameras and look. And as I opened my cameras, lo and behold, right at this second, what are the odds? My nanny was telling my daughter. So my daughter and my son were playing. So I just thought, I missed them. I just saw them playing. I thought, oh, cute. And my daughter was being rough with my son and pushed him down. So I now saw my nanny rush to my daughter and tell her that, why are you always doing this? In fact, you're a witch. You're always doing this to your brother. Pushed her head, called her ugly. Nothing I didn't see in this camera. I was shocked. Literally, I was like, so this can be going on in my house, and I'm not aware of it. I was gobsmacked. Then also as well during that period, I now started to look at my camera more regularly, and the kind of conversations that I was hearing. In fact, one of my nannies, I discovered that she has a different voice. Her voice for me, I mean, these are people that are not with me right now. Her voice for me is one, so, hey, yes, my, yeah. And then her voice when she's talking to the other nannies by themselves is, well, yes, so like one kind of very strong voice. So I was like, my goodness, these people are actually, quite different. And in that kind of situation, so the cameras are not hidden in my house. They're there because I want you to know that they're there, be conscious, and they're in every possible location. However, I don't know how they forgot themselves, or maybe God needed me to see it at that time, but it emphasized to me the importance of having cameras, and I was able to confront that situation. I'm so sorry. There's something going on with me and my light
With the
situation
light.
right now, but it will come on. I mean, Nigerian parenting.
My
But
Nigeria.
it was Unfortunately, so you will just see my gold glasses shining for now. But I had to address the situation immediately with evidence. So I knew what was said, I knew what happened, I knew the timestamp that it happened in, and I found out all kinds of things. At that time, one of my nannies, the same nanny that was, quite rude to my daughter, was planning to leave. It was a steward in my house that had come with a relative that was encouraging her to just go. Don't tell madam. I was in America with my kids. Sorry, by myself. My kids were there. So this steward was telling her that you don't need to tell madam now. Just make up one excuse and be going. So I would highly recommend having CCTV. But what I did during that period, once you see one bad thing, you cannot unsee it. So I found myself being so drawn to the camera. So when I'm in Nigeria, I don't do it because you have to also give people their privacy. And you have to also understand that these are adults. These are, for nannies, these are women. They may have their
Mhm.
conversations about men and whatever, as long as they're not expressing whatever desires to my children, they're entitled to a certain level of privacy. But I think as women, we have to, first of all, for me, it's being tapped into the Holy Spirit, because if it wasn't for the Holy Spirit, who has time as a busy
You would
working
have
mom
checked.
to start looking through hours of video to see what they were discussing? So I think listening to the Holy Spirit and listening to your intuition, your gut as a mother, because I noticed that at the time my daughter, like, she wasn't quite herself. And I didn't know that this nanny was destroying my daughter's confidence by telling her things like she's ugly, which I tell
Hmm.
her it contradicts everything that I teach her, that she's so beautiful and
And
she's
you
so
teach her.
intelligent.
Imagine that.
So you can have enemies working within your household. So I think one thing that I'm learning as well is we all know what it's like as mothers to have somebody that's worked with you for a certain period of time. You've invested, you've trained, you bought them things where you've traveled. You may not want to let them go. So you may start ignoring certain things and not listening to your intuition and not listening to the leading of the Holy Spirit.
Listen,
But it's really
listen.
important to stay keyed
In
in
fact,
and to, yes.
I'm, I'm going to come in there because that's something, we're talking about modern solutions. And that is one solution that is ancient yet modern. It's consistent. The Holy Spirit's help.
Timeless,
Asking God to
timeless.
help you. So you know what? Because that CCTV, honestly, I used to be one of those people that would say, don't bother. I am a proponent of CCTV. It is such an important tool in your household. And make sure it's wired up. Make sure you're checking it.
Mm,
Don't just have it there. Because the truth is that some people know at this one, they never check it. Let's just not even bother ourselves. Because the person I caught that was stealing, she knew the CCTV was on. And before, if I don't, she knew it was on,
yeah.
and she knew how to go and she knew how to disable. What's the word? To put it off.
Like, yes, yes. So you can't see what she's
So you
doing.
can so you would see that there are times that the thing would just go blank and all that. But there was a day she got careless and she was stealing and it was on, and that was how I caught her. So this CCTV thing is something that we
Mm,
should not take for granted. Install, in fact, the people who have installed CCTV, and the day they installed, the girl there will say, madam, what's the problem? Okay, it's like I want to go. You just know that that person, there's an issue. But I also like the balance.
exactly.
I'm going to put
Exactly.
it
I've
in.
heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be in somebody's bathroom. That's wrong, And before we go on, I just wanted to make sure, just to say hello to everyone who is joining us live. I acknowledge everyone here: AYT, Toby, Stella, Elizabeth, everyone that is in here, wherever you are in the world. Welcome. You can say hello. You can say where you are, and I hope you're paying attention and you're also sharing this conversation, because it's something that is so important. We take so many things for granted, when we're at home. I tell people, even when you're home 24/7, you can be in your bedroom and something's happening downstairs and you're in that house. It has happened to so many. So you need to
Hmm.
just, be prayed up. While you're doing all the modern things, while you're saying, okay, we have the WhatsApp group, we have the chats, we have the schedules, we have the routines, we're standing on business and making sure the house is running like clockwork. You also need to be very, very prayerful and to trust your instinct. God has given us these things for a reason, to say, okay, there's something going on. Go and check. Go and check what that thing is. I need to go and check my daughter's bag at this time. Open that bag and check. Enter your children's rooms. We've all become so fancy. Our children all have their own bedroom. Some even have the TV in the room and all that, which I do not recommend, by the way. Or gadget. Everybody has a gadget. You need to make sure that you're entering these children's rooms to see what is happening with them. Enter, in fact, this is my cue, because I don't think I've entered my nanny's room in a while. So people just enter the room and say, okay, what's going on? Like you said, how are they sleeping? Do they even have? So those are kind of things that you actually need to check. Like, a lot of times, sadly enough, as parents, we get really laid back. We're focusing on so many things on the external way, and we're forgetting the internal. We're forgetting to do checking. Do our kids know how to use the toilet? I go, and that's is my pet peeve. You go to an office where there are only adults that work in that office, and the toilets are messed up. Who is messing up those toilets? Adults who, as children, did not learn how to use the toilet properly, who were not taught, or maybe I don't know if they used pit latrines or whatever, but they just have zero toilet etiquette, and then they go into the workspace and they're messing up toilets. But so in your home, how are you training your child to use the toilet? Or are you saying, oh, because there's a nanny who comes in and does this, or we have this a steward and that one, that they don't even know that, look, even when there's no water running, I should actually go and get water or do something and flush that toilet. Or even
Yeah,
some children who I know, even in today's world, there's water running and they're not flushing the toilet. What's going on?
yeah,
So we
yeah,
need to make sure we're doing our diligence, that even when we are outsourcing and having nannies, even if we have children, we should also know that we are still the mother. I think I'm offline now. Am I offline? So yes, we still need to make sure that we're paying attention, doing the needful, watching over them, checking out things that needs to be checked out. So that when they
yeah,
leave home, they're actually adults that we can be proud of. So that's something I wanted to just
yeah,
chip in.
yeah.
Oh,
And I
thank you,
hear
Stella from London. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of stories about people that are with, especially for boy moms, right? I hear a lot of stories about people that are married to people that can do absolutely nothing for themselves. Women, let's not enable this kind of behavior at all whatsoever. My 2-year-old son, just yesterday, he had his cup of milk and he spilt his milk on the floor, right? And his nanny rushed to go and pick, and I said, no, get some serviette. Yes, we're going to mop it and do the official cleaning of the thing, but TJ needs to understand that he can clean, because I find that with boys, and I started, so when I traveled for that long period, I came back and my nannies and the lady that was also staying with us had given my son the title of Odogu, and I love it. It was fine. We'll be calling him Odogu, we'll be hailing him, but
And
after,
hailing him.
let this boy not become the kind of Odogu that cannot do anything, because I've enabled him to the point where he's two,
Hmm.
but however, I was like, okay, upon this Odogu, he's going to be doing the same stuff that his sister is doing in terms of chores and stuff at the age appropriate time. So yesterday, the
Hmm.
nanny got the serviette and my son wipes the milk, not perfectly. We still mopped it and cleaned it after, but that mindset is that, yes, you can do it. You're not just going to have, you're not going to be Odogu and have women just running around after you. You can also participate in chores and things like that. So that's another thing. I think for boy moms, I'm very, very intentional with both of my children, but with my son, I'm intentional to not be like, oh, because the boy he can't do anything, everybody just should be cleaning him. I mean, he's young, but we really, really have to, because we are witnessing these men that have been, I want to say, smothered or enabled by their mothers to just feel like that. It starts off, I know it
Absolutely.
sounds too
Absolutely. I
serious. My
love that.
mom was telling me that, leave this boy, he's our, but it starts off as that Odogu mentality, and before you know it, you're just feeling too big, you're feeling too cool. You leave your mother's house, you can't even boil rice, and you go and become somebody else's problem. I really want to say, because I hear so many sob stories, women crying. There's some women, their husbands, all they can do is warm food. So as mothers as well, we have to be particularly careful about how we're raising boys and raising them to be the kind of men that we would want to be married to one day, even though they're quite young. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Spot on. Because the truth is that when you see a man who cannot do anything, or the truth is that, and with our men, there's a lot of learned helplessness, where they feel they can't do anything because they've been told they can't do anything and they're not allowed to do anything. But when you give them the opportunity to say, "Oh, you know what, do this," you say, okay, they can actually do it better than you think. So the truth is that for every man who does nothing, there's a mother who enabled it. So we as moms, we do have our work cut out for us. That's the honest truth. And we need to make sure that we're teaching our children, not enabling them to not to do anything, but to actually teach them to say, "Oh, you know what, you can actually get things done." I was speaking to some men the other day about paternity leave, that don't they want it enforced, and they were saying, one said that I don't want. I'm indifferent. I said why? I said because that when his wife has a baby, there are all these women in the house, and they're like, "Please just go. You're in our way. Can you like move out? As in, just leave us alone." They don't allow him to carry the baby. They don't allow him to do anything. There's like 10 mother-in-laws and 500 aunties, and nobody. He's like he has no role there, so he would rather not be in the house. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," And so we need to make sure that we are actually allowing the boys from when they're young be part of that process, so that they grow up into the men that will naturally be part of the process, be part of the, looking after the children and, sharing chores. Because the truth is that women are doing more than ever in the business space, in the corporate world. Look at you with your digital strategy thing, they're doing so much. And we still come back home and do the bulk of what needs to be done in the home from adult. And it's not just Nigeria, it's everywhere, it's all over the world. It's almost a global thing where women are doing so much of what needs to be done, at home, in and also slaying and doing so many things in the business and the corporate world. And you end up seeing that a lot of women are actually burnt out, they're overwhelmed, they're overworked. So that's something that it's good that we address that now. I know that, you do have a role to play, making sure you're raising up boys to be conscious of the fact that, look, oh, I need to also do my own part. It's not just a woman's thing or a girl's thing. Yes, we have our roles, but we want men who are able to do that. Look, I need to support my wife, I need to support my spouse, I need to ensure I'm doing my own part as well. And it starts with you, the parent. How are you ensuring that, like data, that TJ is hands on? How are you ensuring that your own son or your own sons are hands on? So I like that you're doing that. Well done, well done, well done, well done. So yeah, thank you. I can see someone. I can see New Minds has joined us. So we're going to round
Absolutely.
up
And I
soon.
think also as well as women.
Mm. Go ahead, data.
Okay.
Go ahead, data. Go ahead.
So my last point was just going to be that as women as well. So one thing that I discovered about myself is that I was wearing this because I do so many things. I was wearing this kind of like hustle mentality as a badge. It became like my identity. And, taking on so much responsibility in the household like superwomen or superwoman, and I realized like what example am I setting to my children if I'm just doing everything? I'm not like I'm creating a cycle that it will be hard for them to break out of. And I think it's really important as women as well for us to look at how we involve our partners in the parenting and in part of this smart system that we're putting together. It's really, really critical. It takes two people for this to really work. And I think it also means looking at your spouse or your partner, looking at their strengths and placing them in or fitting them in places that work well for them. For example, not every husband is going to come and do this Asana project management, chat with
Mhm.
you, or not all of them like going to kids' birthday parties or certain things, but some of them may like the sports element of things. So you outsource that and you play to your partner's strength and say, okay, you're good with sports, try and be taking the kids to their sports activities or do this. But it's just also not good for us to model to our children this whole super women saving the world, doing everything on our own. We're really trying to break that in the next generation and make sure that we're giving them a great example of what unity is and what collaboration is. And I think, like I said, that's one of the key things in the digital ecosystem. So I think as women, it's to be wise, not set anybody up for failure. So like I said, I look at my household, where I look at my business. At work, when I have an employee, I look at their strengths. I try not to set them up for failure. Okay, your English isn't the best. I'm not going to put you in front of a client, but you may be great at research or you may be great
Front
at
desk.
doing something
Mhm.
else. So with husbands, I think loop them in, bring them into the process, but play to their strengths, right? Find the things that they do well and make sure that they're doing it. Like, don't suffer alone and just be suffering and smiling, carrying all the weight of the parenting on your own. It's important
Not
to
wise.
be a smart woman. I think, like you said, it's a blend of modern practices and also the timeless wisdom that our grandmothers and mothers, have imbibed, and that has made them successful wives and mothers and be able to do it all.
Awesome. I love it. Play to their strengths. Like my husband is good. He's a fantastic teacher. And so I tell him, look, when it comes to homework, daddy, you're on duty. That's you. Do the homework. In fact, my son is convinced that I didn't do well in school because it's like, you know, it's daddy that knows homework and you don't know homework stuff. So let me go and meet my dad. I've just said, I've just said, that's daddy's department. So let's not do this thing. Like Dasa said, this whole badge, superwoman badge, it doesn't even exist. We don't need it. There's no trophy. Nobody's going to give you an award. What you're going to do is end up getting burnt out and stressed. So if you do have a man who is in your life, make sure he's doing what he needs to do as a parent, and ask him to, ask him nicely if you have to. Don't be, sometimes you get, "Hey, doesn't he know? Should I tell him to do? Why must I tell him?" Biko, don't be angry. Just be nice about it because he probably wasn't raised to do those things. So you have to make sure you're telling him in a way that he understands. Okay, it's a partnership. I also bring money into this home. I am also doing X, Y, Z. You should also do your part. And it's important, especially with boys. There's so much research on the fact that when a father is present and doing certain things for his boy child, it gives them a lot of um, you know, assuredness and all of that. For girls as well, the same thing. It does a lot of them to boost their confidence and make them feel very assured when they're dealing with the opposite sex. So there's a huge role for men to play. So let's not downplay it in any way and feel that, oh, his mother or nothing. You too, make yourself, sometimes, calm down. Okay, I'm doing this, honey, can you do that? Because, I'm fixing this and, oh, thank you. Oh, that was fantastic. Not that, oh, you didn't do
Yeah.
it well. You're not holding the baby's head well. You didn't change the diaper well. And he's like, okay, you know what? Just do it yourself. I beg. I don't want wahala. And even with help, it's the same
Yeah.
thing. Play to people's strengths. So you have a girl. Remember, I had this girl who I hired her to look after my son. Then he was just born. And I saw she wasn't really interested in babies. She was a mother, so I just felt okay. She would be more inclined to look, to childcare, but she really wasn't interested. I don't. She didn't really like carrying him. I don't. There was just something weird. So what did I do? But I saw she was She was good at cleaning. Give her this, as she was like
Mm,
she had the strength of a horse. She would clean, and so I was like, okay, it's not telling her to go. I still need. I had young children. Then let me get someone else who is more baby friendly. And there was another girl I saw, and the minute she came in, even the way she wanted to carry my baby and the way I just knew that this was a baby person. This was someone that loved children. It was obvious. And immediately, and once I had her, I just said, you know what, auntie, leave the children alone. Just face the cleaning and all that. This, she will handle the children. And it worked well for the period that I had those two girls in my home. So play to people's strengths. Someone might be slow. You have a girl who is very, very slow. She's a bit, it takes her forever to do things. So tell her like 30 minutes earlier. Maybe she, what
true.
are her other strengths? Yeah, what are her other strengths? Because yeah, she's slow, but she does this well. She's clean. She's this. She's that. She's that. Look at people's strengths. Not everybody is perfect, and in the workplace we see it all. We see people
Mm,
who are better. They need those jobs where they are, up and about. If they sit down, on their desk too much, it's like they're going to get sick. So they need to be, maybe working in the engineering department where they're carrying things up and down, and that's their personality. That's what they're suited for.
mhm,
If you put
mhm.
them where they're dealing with strategy and sitting down all day, they will fall sick. And you'll be like, this
Yeah.
person is not efficient, but he is. He just doesn't need to be in that particular kind of role. That's not what he's suited for. So with your help, with everybody, especially with your spouse, if you look at calls and when you call things for parents, 9 out of 10 it's women that are there. 9.5 out of 10 it's women that answer the call. But our men are very capable. And that's why God made them, give them that gift of being father. So let's make sure that we're not pushing them out, we're not excluding them, but we're including them by making them know that, look, your input is valued. This is what you do, this is what you do. And if you need help, for being here with us. Anyone that has joined us today, thank you for being here with me and Data and just enjoying this conversation on how we in 2025 as modern moms can bring these modern solutions into our lives. I'm going to give Data the last call. Is there anything else you want to say? Any last words before we let everybody go? Does anyone have questions? We can have maybe like 1 or 2 minutes, but Data, over to you.
I'll just say for mothers, one last thing that is like key is to don't keep things or your experiences to yourself. So like part of the reason that we're having this conversation is because it really takes a village. And just the same way in the digital economy, knowledge sharing is important. Joining communities, following people like Trauma, who's a parenting coach, getting that kind of information. We don't know it all. Nobody does. Our parents didn't. We don't. We're all figuring out this journey. So I think speaking to other moms, asking another mom, you may be surprised the kind of information you find out. Like, my nanny did this thing. Not that you go and report everything, but my nanny did this thing. How do you typically deal with these things in your household?
How
And you
did
may
you
be able
handle
to
it?
exchange notes. So I think definitely following, yeah, how did you handle it? Even things like how much people are paying staff, you can have these conversations. As women, let's continue to build these communities, have these conversations openly, talking about our successes, but also our struggles. I think this kind of conversation shows that we're all learning. Just as in the digital world, we use data, we learn each time a nanny goes or a nanny stays for a period. I think it's important for us to just keep having these conversations and connecting as women. So I'm so happy that you did this and invited me, and it's been a brilliant conversation. Thank you also to everybody that joined. You can also follow me. I never do this, so I'm going to do it before I forget. You can also follow me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. My name is the same, Datari Ladejo, the same as my name here. So please do follow me on social media as well. I share a little bit about my life as a mom, but mostly about my life as a digital strategist. And I think you'll find some useful tips there as well. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Dasa, for being part of today's live. I'm so excited to get to do this with you. And like Dasa said, that's why we share. Some people ask me sometimes you put a lot of stuff out. I'm not putting it because I want people to know everything, but because people, if you don't hear these stories, you just think, oh, it's just me that's going this. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. But by hearing someone say, oh, this happened, I did this, you're able to get a solution. And it's about forming that parenting village, that community, to know that you're not alone on this journey. So thank you for joining us. Thank you. You can always connect with me here. This is me, Chioma Moma, parenting coach, women's coach, here to tell you that, look, there's no perfection in parenting, but if we try and put our best foot forward, we can actually do a really good job with God's help. And join me. I have lots of resources on Seller, lots of resources on Instagram, lots of resources to help parents, get ready for different aspects of their children's lives. If you want me to coach me, you can. If you want me to coach you, you can join my community, the Purposeful Parenting Community. I have a conference every year for purposeful parents, and of course, my butterfly program, which is specially for working women. You can join us. Just send me a message at choma at gmail.com. I spell my choma with an H at the end. So it's always great to see you. Claire is one of the people who I've coached, and it's always good to see you, Claire. I'm still coaching her. It never ends. So I'm just grateful to have you guys here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of this interesting and insightful. It's really been, I've learned a lot. Like I said, if there's anything I've learned today is that WhatsApp group must go up, because really you need to communicate. You need to have your people together. Once you have people who these people, it's working well. I've had them for a few weeks or whatever, and they seem to be part of my parenting core in my home. Then you need to onboard them. Have those meetings with them, have those discussions with them, teach them, gamify the process. There's so many things that we've learned from what Data has said today. Make it easy, and also take it easy on yourself as well. Make sure you're okay. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Make sure that you're feeling good about yourself. Make sure that you're making them part of what you're doing in raising your children. Make them feel that they are part of the process. Give them ownership. Don't micromanage, okay? And by God's grace, God's help, with His help, with the Holy Spirit's help, yes, we have all the tech, CCTV, everything, but with God's help, everything will be fine. Thank you so much for joining us. Datari, thank you so much once again. It's been so great. I'm going to do this again, okay? So look
You.
out for this again, but there's so much more to talk
Yeah,
about.
thank you for having me. I've learned so much. I'm downloading all your resources. That your pack. I'm going straight there to download it now. So I
Yes,
suggest
download
that
it now.
everybody
Download
does
it
the
now,
same as
because
well.
in a few days, I'm like, you people don't like paying for stuff, because people have downloaded that thing today. Since I opened it, I've gotten like so many downloads. But like we said, we learn. I guess the difference is that in those days, our parents would do this for free. They would give you all the information. But then, thank God for technology, because now people that you don't even know, you can talk to them and you can learn from each other. So thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you for being here, Data, once again. Thank you for joining in. Lots of content on YouTube, so you can go back and watch old videos, and there's more coming. I'm going to have conversations with Chioma where I'll talk to other moms. We'll have different topics that relate to our parenting journey. So don't miss that. It's coming up this quarter. Take good care of yourselves and have a very good night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Well done,